When the user opens the app's options menu and chooses to set the line width, you saw that our on options item selected method calls showLineWidthDialog, and this method works similarly to the showColorDialog that we looked at in the previous video. So just reviewing, we create a new dialog object using this activity as the context. Next, we set the content view, which inflates this dialog's layout and attaches it to the dialog. Then we set the title of the dialog and indicate that it's cancelable so that we can allow the user to dismiss the dialog simply by hitting the back button on their device. Next, we get a reference to the seek bar within that dialog, and we set its onSeekBar change listener so that we can respond when the user changes the value of the seek bar by moving the thumb. And at line 344, we set the initial value of that thumb position by calling setProgress with doodleview.getLineWidth as an argument, which gets the current line width that's set for drawing. Next, at lines 347 through 349 here, we get the button and we set its on-click listener so that we can respond when the user says to actually set the new line width. Then we indicate that the dialog is visible and we show the dialog. Next, we take a look at the event listeners for this dialog. So we have our width seek bar changed listener, and it is going to display on a bitmap what the new line width is going to be. So the first thing we do here at lines 359 and 60 is create a bitmap object using the static method create bitmap from the bitmap class. We specify that this bitmap should be 400 wide by 100 tall, and we specify the configuration of the bitmap, and it's going to be an alpha RGB bitmap. At line 361, we get a canvas object based on that bitmap so that we can use it for drawing purposes. Anytime you need to draw onto something in Android, you typically use a canvas object to do that for two-dimensional graphics. Now, the onProgressChanged method in this case, we get the image view from the current dialog, and then we create a paint object and configure it with its color. The stroke cap is set to round, which basically rounds the ends of the line just to make it look a little bit nicer on the screen. And then we also set the stroke width to the progress value, which is the value of the seek bar as it was just changed by the user. Next, we say to our bitmap to erase the bitmap in white. Then we draw a line on the bitmap using the paint object that we just configured, which uses the current drawing color and the new line width as its configuration. And then finally, at line 380, we say to the width image view to set its image bitmap to this bitmap that we just created, which updates the presentation of the line inside the dialog. And again, we're not taking advantage of on start tracking touch and on stop tracking touch in this example, so we just override these methods with empty bodies. Now, of course, changing the display of the line width in the dialog does not change the line width itself for drawing purposes. The user has to click the button in the dialog to do that, and so we get to the end of class doodles and take a look at the on-click listener for setting the line width. In this case, we get the seek bar from the dialog. Then we tell the doodle view to set its line width to the get progress value returned by the width seek bar. We indicate that the dialog is no longer displayed on the screen because we're now in the process of dismissing it, and we call dismiss to get rid of it. And then finally, we set current dialog to null. In the next video, we'll begin taking a look at the doodle view class, which is where we actually perform the drawing and the touch event handling in this example.